Oh my goodness, super friends, we're back with another video. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and it's going to be all about the DC Multiverse Arkham Batman and Joker action figures from McFarlane Toys. Both of the figures come in the black, white, and blue McFarlane Toys window box packaging, where you can clearly see everything that comes in the inside. Batman with all of his gadgets, and Joker with all of his wonderful toys. And just in case you're confused on exactly which Arkham game Batman and Joker came from, we can see it's Arkham Asylum. Spying the back of the box, we can see the Batman and the Joker artwork that these figures have been based off of, as well as other action figures that have been released in the McFarlane Toys line, based off of movies, comic books, and cartoon shows. And just for those who need it, on the bottom of each box, here are the barcodes for Joker and the Batman. Now let's take these guys out of the box, starting with Batman, and then continuing with the Joker. And here they are, both out of their packaging. Let's take a closer look. Starting with Batman. The line launcher looks pretty good for what it is. It's just your simple silver with, oh, that looks like a T-Rex mouth. Roar. The details look good enough. It's just your basic silver with the black wash over top. It's kind of a little bit squishy in the rubbery plastic department, but really not that bad. Both Batarangs also have the same paint deco with the silver and then the black wash kind of over top to give it that metallic look, and they look good. They look convincing enough, like they jumped right out of the video game. While his little throwable has some gold detail there and then the silver, and all in all, his accessories look pretty fantastic. Here's the packed-in trading card. Unfortunately, mine was a casualty of taking it out of the package. It may or may not have gotten a big crease across it. I was trying to be good with it too, and very careful, but it happened. Here's the back. You can pause to read the data file if you'd like to. Of course, we have the figure, which looks really fantastic. This is one of the figures, along with the Joker, as you'll see, that I really think that McFarlane did a fantastic job pretty much all around. I do have little things about it that I don't like, but in general, this figure's paint and color scheme and the sculpted detail all, for the most part, look pretty darn good. And McFarlane seems to have spent a goodly amount of time actually working to sculpt a figure that is accurate to the game and also fantastic for us collectors. Now, while the sculpted details of this figure are not exactly perfect to the video game, I would still say they're about 98% correct. And the fact that the bat is a separate sculpted piece that's been attached to the body really is a fantastic design choice, and it makes the bat pop a whole lot more than if it was just painted to the chest. I love Batman's nice golden utility belt with the weathering on it. I think that the sculpt and the paint deco look fantastic. Batman's gauntlets, front and back, look absolutely fantastic, and the same thing can be said about Batman's boots with the shin guards intact. Looks really nice all around. The details on this figure are certainly incredibly impressive, and the same can be said for the back. The details don't stop there. Looks fantastic underneath the cape, and the cape itself is actually made of a rubbery, pliable, black rubberish plastic. It doesn't really get in the way of things, and it's really not that super heavy either, so that's definitely cool. The way that it hangs right here over his shoulders, it's a different look compared to how it looked in the game. The game, it certainly was a bit more smooth. This is more bunched up looking. Now, when we get to Batman's head sculpt, the actual sculpt itself of the lower half of his face and the paint tone that they use for his deco and the sculpt of the actual cowl itself, they all look marvelous. It's just the eyes. They look weird. There's definitely something derpy about these eyes, right? I mean, we're all looking at it, right? We can all see it. Derpy. Now, aside from Batman's derpy eyes, the only other thing that I would mention about this figure that I really don't like visually is the fact that Batman's got the balls in the wrists and he's got the ugly balls in the ankles there. That's really the only other thing visually that I could mention that I don't like about this figure. Other than that, this is a visually striking and impressive representation of the Arkham Asylum Batman. And then we come to, honestly, my favorite out of the two, the Joker, who, as mentioned before, comes with a closed set of clattery teeth and an open set of wind-up clattery teeth, and also that imposing, frightening pistol. I wouldn't call it a pistol, that thing's huge. What is it, a Glock? It's massive. And then, of course, he also comes with the trading card, which has the same picture as the back of the box, and yay, I didn't ruin this one. And as always, if you'd like to read Joker's data file on the back, feel free to pause the video. If not, we'll move on to the figure, which in my opinion is incredibly stunning, and certainly probably the best Arkham Joker figure that we've ever been given to date. I would make a case for that for multiple reasons. For one, the sculpting detail on this guy is through the roof awesome. The body proportions look pretty fantastic as far as the video game goes. And he just has that super jokery clown prince of crime beat your skull in with a crowbar and then laugh while he's doing it and eating cotton candy look to him. But if there was one thing about the Joker that I wish was a little bit different, it's the fact that I kind of wish his mouth was an open laugh rather than a closed, teethy, evil-looking grin that would have evened out his gigantic forehead thing going on up here. But honestly, when we come to the details of this figure, I am beyond impressed with McFarlane for this guy because he just looks so fantastic. You can see, literally, the fabric. You can see what his pants and jacket are made of. You can see the threads. Oh, I love it so much. His belt buckle is nice and clear. The chain that goes into his pocket there. His yellow vest with the black wash and the gold buttons, bow tie, and the flower on the lapel. This guy looks super stunningly fantastic. His gloves have been textured. Just look at that. This guy looks so awesome. His tails are made out of a nice soft rubber so you can bend them up and look at the butt of his trousers. It even looks like his belt is actually going into the belt loops. This guy is sculpted so super fantastically. I am beyond impressed with him. Now, as far as articulation for the pair of them, it's going to be as follows. A ball joint in Batman's head, as well as there being one inside the Joker's. They've both got the hinges up there in the armpits. And Batman's cape does get in the way. Absolutely, there's no denying that. As opposed to the Joker, which he doesn't have a cape, so his arms can definitely go up, and they can move a lot more freely than Batman's. And they both have the butterfly hinges right there in the shoulders. They've both got the bicep swivel, and Batman's got the single jointed elbows that don't really quite go 90 degrees, while the Joker has the benefit of having those fantastic double jointed elbows. And boy, oh boy, did they ever do a fantastic job. As mentioned, they've both got the ball joints right down there in the wrists, and they've both got movement right up here in the torso and in the waist. That's not too terrible. And while the Joker has the same articulation points, oh gosh, does he ever get more range of movement out of his waist, but he does have less in the torso. So getting him to move side to side is purely, for the most part, a waist thing. But I like this a lot. You can hear it clicking into place, too. They've both got those McFarlane Toys hinges in the groin that we are all super familiar with. And you know what? For as much as they are ugly, the range of motion that you can get out of these is actually pretty good. You're probably going to get more out of the Joker just because he doesn't have the trunks getting in the way. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Definitely more easier movement out of the Joker. While we can see that there's double jointed knees on the Batman and the Joker, and they crunch right up, nice and tight. Fantastic. And of course we know that they've both got the balls down there in the ankles, which we've already mentioned are kind of ugly, although quite nicely, Jokers are hidden. You can't see them at all. But it's a catch-22. If you don't want to see the little ball hinges in Joker's ankles, then you're also going to have quite a bit less of a range of movement back and forth. I mean, they're still going to go around and pivot and do all that stuff, but trying to get him in much of a pose as far as the ankles go, you're certainly going to have challenges. Oh yeah, and they both have toe articulation. Bam, bam, just like that. Toe articulation. Why am I making a big deal about it? I have no idea. Now, as far as comparisons go, first, let's bring out the first Arkham Batman, although full confession, that's not the belt that he came with, clearly. I stole that for a custom figure. And the second version of the Arkham City Batman. The first one had less articulation. This is the one that was a lot more spindly looking, but had much more superior articulation. And then we'll bring out the Arkham Origins Batman, who is definitely one of my favorite video game iterations, and I love the look of the cowl on this guy. And the Arkham Knight version, which I'm not exactly that crazy about. I'm not a huge fan of the Arkham Knight version of Batman's suit. As for Joker, I actually had to order this one just to compare him to, because I feel like it's kind of important to compare the previous Joker based on this game with the current one. This Joker's cool because all the figures from the Arkham Asylum series come in a package bowl that looks like a Batman cowl, which is really awesome. And this Joker comes with Scarface, which is a really cool added bonus. Now, because I've never had the privilege of being able to review or even own this DC Direct Arkham Asylum Joker figure ever before, let's just do a quick toe-to-head to have a look at him. And you know what? As much as I do like the McFarlane version certainly a whole lot more, this one's really impressive as well. This Joker figure certainly has a lot of its own appeal. Honestly, I think that my favorite thing about it is the fact that they used actual chain for Joker's chain. And this Joker's face sculpt looks pretty good. I like the fact that they've got a kind of a dirty wash over his skin, and you can see inside of every nook and cranny. And I like the fact that his mouth is actually more open in comparison to the McFarlane one. Like, if these were the same size, I might actually consider doing a head swap, but as you can see, they're definitely not. Another cool thing about the DC Direct version is the fact that he comes with this cool Scarface pack-in. It's funny, at one point I actually considered just buying this little Scarface by himself from eBay because I think he looks really friggin' cool looking. But I never did bite the bullet because I think the guy wanted like $25 for him, and I was like, heck no, ain't nobody got time for that. But finally having these guys standing side by side, you can really see the difference in scale. And just for funsies, I wanted to put this picture in here too. Not that, you know, it has anything to do with McFarlane's Arkham figures, but I just thought it was kind of a cool shot. And also, look at this. This Joker really does look kind of small because this is the Harley Quinn that's supposed to come in this series. Well, she does come in this series, but you can tell that she's definitely bigger than the Joker, which is kind of weird because she's actually smaller than the Joker, so I'm not really sure what they were thinking when they made this Joker so small. As you can see here, these McFarlane figures are very imposing as far as size goes. They're bigger than the NECA. Oh, yuck, I just lost my gum and I stepped on the carpet. Frig. Bigger than the figures in the Motu scale, by a long shot. And while they dwarf Multiverse 6-inch scale figures, they can be posed alongside your DC Essentials figures. Scale isn't too much of an issue there. But obviously the best figures to pose alongside McFarlane Multiverse figures is, well, duh, the other McFarlane Multiverse figures. I'm not saying that Todd's scaling has been perfect. There's definitely been times where figures have been possibly a little bit too tall. I feel like it's almost a bit of a no-brainer that they'll scale better with their own kind. Now, as to my final thoughts on these figures, do I think it's worth the trip to Target or Walmart, or if you live in Canada, Toys R Us, to try and track these guys down? Yes, absolutely. Even taking into account Batman's derpy eyes, every other thing that I've had a little bit of a qualm with, that's just been personal preference, like Joker's head sculpt, and the balls in the wrists and the ankles. Some people really don't mind that. And even though I do kind of wish the Batman had a black wash over top of the gray to fill in the cracks and make the details stand out even a little bit more, I definitely feel like these are two of McFarlane's best offerings. But anyway, super friends, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Hopefully you guys found this video to be an interesting, enlightening, entertaining, useful waste of time for the day. And if you did, please take the time to leave me a like on the video. Any comments you have, pop them down in the comment section below. And if it's your first time coming to this channel and you think you might like to see more, then I invite you today on behalf of the rest of the super friends to hit the subscribe button and become a member of the DC squad. And I will see you with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.